My name's Grego. I'm from Ibiza Spotlight. I want to let the panel quickly introduce themselves. So if you can just tell us who you are and what you do.
It's Uner from Spain, of course, like all them. It's really a pleasure to be here with us because, like you say, it's the first time we have a little spot to speak about the Spanish underground. So it's a pleasure.
Hi everyone, this is Juan Arnau Jr., his son. I am the general director of Enter Group, which is like a bunch of brands, Monegros, Elrow, Care, Florida 135, and so many other projects.
Hello, I'm Enric Palau, founder and co-director of Sonar Festival in Barcelona.
Hello. My name is Paco Suna. I'm a DJ and founder and boss also from Club 4 before bookings and my label Mindshake.
Finally, Juan, do you want to introduce yourself and
Hi everyone, I'm Juan Arnau.
Do you want to begin this story that we're looking forward to?
I am Juan Arnau. I am an old promoter and an old electronic music promoter, maybe the oldest one in Spain. Okay, I'm going to tell you something about my family. Thanks to everyone to being here today. I'd like to make a small presentation of the history of my family and the work he has been doing for 4 generations now. For maybe 5 generations now. My son is the 5 generations. The history starts around in 1920 in Fraga, a small village located about 2-hour drive from Barcelona, heading north in the region of Aragon, not an especially populated area, and without any music promotion background, as you could find back then in the cities like Barcelona or Madrid. My great-grandfather, José Satorres, started everything. As last son of a farmer's lineage, he had a hard time to convincing his father to allow him to open the first coffee bar in the city, as he didn't want to make a life from farming. He gave it the name of Café Giuseppet and was the earliest set of the career that my family has been driving in show business and entertainment for over a century now. José quite soon realized that his coffee was a center for local farming business life, and so understood that those customers, the most wealthy people in the area, were demanding something else than just a few drinks. It was a meeting center, and moreover was convenient. But at that time, something happened. My great-grandfather lost everything he had, I mean everything he had, his family, his wife, in a card games. But by surely, he something bad, my grandfather managed to turn it into the start of something big. The loss of his fortune brought the idea of transforming his coffee on a small local casino. And so he did, founding his casino and the first story of the building where I was actually born. So there was my father of my grandfather, my great-grandfather, on the 20s trying to get over his financial breakdown, converting his coffee with a venue that was a big coffee street level in a casino and also in a bar. Si digo algo que no puedo entenderlo.
Sigue.
Okay?
We understand.
But
we understand.
soon he wanted more for the customers. He was already on the top of the entertainment in those years, and as a well promoter do, wanted the people to stay longer. He wanted to grow his business, so he came up with a new idea. It was a coffee, then it was a casino. Now he wanted a cabaret. He realized that he needed to deliver show as next step, and from there, he developed his ideas for making his coffee a better place. From the great success of the first Western-inspired cabaret shows, he put together something that now sounds weird, but that was really fashion and modern at the time. And he moved into more a glamorous approach, even creating the first bus line that connected his coffee with the bigger cities around. The Café Giuseppet became famous in Spain and went solid also into the Spaniard cabaret circuit, which until then was basically only Barcelona and Madrid. Fraga, a small farming city close to nowhere, was then in the entertainment Spaniard scene. Then Jose passed away, and his father, the farmer who didn't like the idea in first place, closed the coffee right away. Until my grandmother Maria married with a young bartender from a close village called Antonio, it was closed. The couple established themselves in Fraga and reopened the coffee under the name of Bar Victoria. My mother was raised there, behind the bar, between spirits, vodkas, and sodas. And again, the entertainment spread race on a new form. Silent cinema was the new big thing coming up, so they started the first cinema in the city, connected to its Café Victoria, with also his family home, and with the cinema. And with the silent movie came live music, usually only with a solo piano soundtracking the movie. So, why not using the cinema also for cabaret shows? In the big format, I mean. Using also a big terrace with that the family used with the stables, horses, they built the first open-air cinema. The formula was converting the cinema into a dance floor after the movie. At that time, a full brand new entertainment pack. Then, the other side of my family, the Arnau's family, came to Fraga, came to the village. My grandfather Juan Arnau and his wife Francisca started a powder factory. As soon, my father started to visit the Bar Victoria to make business there, realizing the huge business potential it had, and started to plan to start some business of that sort. But then the Spanish Civil War paralyzed everything. The Victoria was converted into a troops headquartered for the Republican first and then for the Nationals. It was the most terrible time for everyone who lived it, not only in Fraga, but for all Spain. When war finally came to the end, my grandfather Juan, who never gave up an idea once it was in his head, kept checking on the cinema's business opportunities until he started a brand new and most spectacular cinema with 1,500 capacity, one of the biggest in all of Spain. Of course, that broke my other grandfather's cinema. He couldn't be happy, and for all this situation, when the story gave another turn, like on a Hollywood movies, the son and the daughter of those two competitors in business fall in love. My father Juan and my mother Pilar met. Love was stronger than the business, but you still have to take care of business, so to solve the usual situation, they merged both cinemas into one company that will run them both. Then decided that the oldest cinema will remain as a cinema, while the new one, the Florida one, will take the movie dance floor formula, bringing to Fraga shows that needed that my father, my grandfather, and his brother to travel to Madrid or Barcelona to build his contacts. So they got the biggest show business in 100 miles around the city, with people coming from all those villages to enjoy the opportunities of the complex they built, a small, like a Playa de Ambosa at the time, with the two cinemas, the coffee, the casino, the big terrace, the dance floor, when every Sunday they offered movies, music, and dance. And it was especially significant at that time because it became a meeting point for everyone, no matter the political side at the recently finished Civil War. You could have some drinks, watch the movies, at the end, your free day on the dance floor, where mothers still watches closely their young daughters to avoid falling sick. Then, my grandfather learned about a city in USA named Las Vegas, and the success of the Spaniard Orchestra director Xavier Cugat, who at that time was the most important musician on show business, along with Greg Miller also. A new idea was born. He built a brand new venue, a dance floor venue, when he could bring big orchestra shows all the year long, and not just only the summer seasons. And the Florida Club was born, which is still into here. It was a venue where locals could feel like we're in a big city. And he even got, I don't know why, the inaccessible Javier Cugat to play there. He wished to bring to his small town the king of the artists, the kind of the artists that were playing in Las Vegas casinos. But sadly, again, like on a Hollywood movie part, my grandfather died on a massive heart attack the very last night before the performance of Cugat. The day after the funeral, Javier Cugat, the most important Spanish musicians of the first half of the century, dedicated his performance to the man who got him from Las Vegas to a small rural village, Juan Arnau Duran, my grandfather. But as well as with the performance says, the show must go on. Show business developed in new forms. It already have moved from small local orchestras into big international formations, where the new things came, amplifications and records. Orchestras started its decline. At the Florida dance floor, records started to sound in combination with live music. Salon dance records actually. But it was the starting point for the promoters to move from live orchestras into records music set, DJ set in a way. We show it to be a more affordable and convenient format for promoters. Then, as always, show went on. From the salon dance formula, with the development of the record music, also came a new format of venue. And the dance salons, where the people dance in couples, became into boîtes, where people danced in more psychedelic spaces. Music and more psychedelic always environment. It's more spaces, darker and warmer. Girls could dance out of reach of their vigilance models, even dreams. This is the real, always say my father, the women liberation?
Women's liberation.
Women liberation, no? The Beatles and the Rollins were hip. The first drugs show up. It was the 60s, a real new order, and my family had to adapt. So they made the first big renovation on the Florida Club. They turned the old salon into the biggest and almost modern boîte in Spain. In those times, we began calling it discotheques. With the help of the most legendary decorator at that time, Javier Regas, they built the most famous club in Spain. And so they crossed the 60s and the 70s through the rock and roll and the pop, from the soul into the disco music, always ahead of the new musical tendencies, avoiding to think they were doing that in a 2,500 capacity club in Fraga, not in Barcelona or in Madrid, but a 10,000 village at 2 hours from anywhere. Again, time passed. It was the 80s and rising new tendencies. The big discotheque started his decline also. My father and my father brothers, who was headlining the side of the business, passed away. So my father, who was a visionary, as he was his father, decided to give a turn to business and tried to locate the former decorator who had designed the first Florida Fraga discotheque years back in the years. He had an idea and wanted Regas to bring it to reality. My father has a vision. He wanted a street into the club, an actual real street, not a decorated street, into the club in Fraga. He wants, when you are in, you have the idea you are out, but not out in Fraga, out in New York, in the Bronx. He decided to put into the salon a quarter of the Bronx. And the design that Regas did over my father's idea was so good, so brilliant, that still today, I can proudly say, you are all invited to see it. You still can travel to Fraga next Saturday and see it, because after 30 years, it's still there. And people like Too Many DJs or Born Noise, just to mention a couple of artists who has been there in the last month, still get shocked when they enter to Florida Club and see what my father imagined and the genius of Rogas designed it when they maybe were even born. And from there, let's say, I took for my wife, Maricruz, who always been on my side along all this history in my way, we started to trying to do from Florida the greatest club in Spain. And we did the same with my grandfather did, my uncle and my father did, traveling to places, meeting and combining the nice people like Javier Cugat did to travel to Fraga, not to Paris, Barcelona, Madrid, just to Fraga, to perform there. And we came the 80s and the 90s, and we come to Ibiza, and we contact people from the Coup and from Pachá, big performance. You know, we traveled also Saint-Tropez and meet there Philippe Corti, the first resident DJ we ever met at the Papagayo Club. I still remember, was surprised realizing that he was a known figure in all Saint-Tropez and that he couldn't walk around without being assaulted by fans. We showed us how to mix show, music, and entertainment under an easy and simple idea, but very designed accurately, set up. And we took part of the clubs on a Spanish Ruta del Bacalao, the seminal dance music movement happening in the Spanish coast during the end of the 80s and beginning of the 90s. And then the techno appears. We started to visit race, me and my wife, Maricruz, we started to visit race, legals and illegals, venues in all around Europe. And soon we realized that was the new thing to come, that music was made by purpose for clubbing, and that would start something new and big, what now is known as electronic dance music. It was there to stay. We continued traveling in Paris, and we met there in Jeff Mills. In Barcelona, we met Sonar, friends of Sonar, and from directors of Sonar, my friends Ricardo Robles and Enric, Palau, who are sitting here on my side. I contact people as Laurent Garnier artists who finally mint everything on the scene. Florida, keeping growing. Everyone played there after London or Paris. And as next step, following the lead of my father and my grandfather, who never gave up looking for the new things, we started over Monegros, which I think it doesn't need a presentation here, in the very same country spot that my great-grandfather lost in the poker table and reconverted by the casino earnings. Un minuto? Sí. And, well, it's just a paragraph, no? And so we reached the present, just 8 years ago, from arrived to Barcelona, and I discovered an old after-hour near to Barcelona airport called Fridge, and we converted the Fridge in the actual row. And then my daughter and my son do something different there, you know? And with Elrow, we came as a promoter in Ibiza the first time. Jose Mari Chain from Privilege, to whom I always grateful, gave us the opportunity to bring in Elrow concept to the island. And now we are going to be in this session in the space for the first time. And finally, I also want to thank Bert Turner, who has invited us to join you all and tell you this, our history. Thank you very much.
I think just to quickly say, it's almost impossible to condense 100 years of history into 10 minutes, but yeah, we've gone from this whole history starting from a game of cards, starting in the middle of the Second World War, post-Spanish Civil War. It's kind of almost too much to take on board, really. So yeah, thanks for sharing that with us, and we're glad to give you the opportunity to do that. Juanito, I want you to just explain, as the youngest generation of this dynasty, family's probably the most important part of this whole story, isn't it, for you? Your grandfather used to call you after the club has finished to ask how it's gone.
Yeah, that's right. Like, as my father said, like, I have been in the industry forever, since I was born. sometimes I feel with pressure because, you know, like I feel like I have been like with them forever, with my great-grandfather, my grandfather, now my father, and they have been doing in the business like many different things. So now for me it's time to do new stuff, and for me it's a challenge. You know, like I have been like going with them since I was a kid, with my mom taking me to an after parties, with my dad taking me to illegal raves. With my grandfather taking me to America to see new clubs. So yeah, we are kind of a different family, and now it's my turn and my sisters to do something, like to continue with our history, I hope.
Much of what we heard was about Florida, and that's kind of the temple of techno, do people call it, or the cathedral, the cathedral of techno.
Yeah.
And everyone's played there.
My father forgot to say that he was the first one with Sonar people that brought electronic music into Spain, especially techno. Yeah, it was like, actually it is like Florida is still open. We open every Saturday night since 1942. And
so it's 70 years.
Yeah,
it's been open.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah.
And from there, I mean, much of the history was about Florida, but obviously, as your father said, Monegros. Can you explain what Monegros is?
Yeah,
to anyone who doesn't know?
It was like an after party. Like my father used to open the Florida 135 on Saturdays, and he decided to do a private party for 200 people with his friends. He went to the desert. He did a braai with friends, and since then, 20 years ago, he started building a big brand, and I think everyone knows the festival now brings 40,000 people in the middle of nowhere, 24 hours non-stop, and yeah, that's it.
Okay, we'll move on to Elrow. When did Elrow begin? When did the concept start?
Elrow began 4 or 5 years ago. When I was studying in Australia, my father called me. I went back to Barcelona, and he showed me this place next to the airport. And we decided to do something different. Like we, as you might know, Elrow right now is like one of the strongest brands in Spain. It's a party that starts from the morning until afternoon, every Sunday afternoon. We had to close it because political issues. Now it's back again. We do a party once a month. And it's like, as we try to explain to the people, it's a new concept. It's not only about DJs and electronic music. It's of course about electronic and DJs, but we try to mix decoration, performers, shows, inflatables, toys. We want the people to be part of a new full concept. We want them to be part of the show. It's not only that you are seeing a DJ and you are enjoying with his music or the music he's playing. It's more about you having part of something different.
Okay, we'll come back and talk about the new club that the family has called Care a little bit later. But I want to bring Enric in. To go back to the theme, the Spanish underground movement, for me, probably the strongest representation of the underground in Spain is Sonar. Can you explain how that began, and in the context of this history, how did Sonar start and where did it come from?
I think we start probably the same time as Juan was mentioning. We were building the project in '92 for 2 years, and we started the first festival in '94. And from that beginning, bringing the first electronic music into Spain, bringing the first DJs. We found Sonar is 3 days in the year, but we found a partner with Juan's family to bring all these DJs around and bring them to play in Fraga. Actually, I have my little stories of me driving personally Jeff Mills with a Renault 11. If you Google Renault 11, you will find how an awful car is, and I was pretty ashamed because I knew how Jeff Mills is the car city. So plenty of nice stories about working together with Juan Arnau. And I can tell you his father, when I met him, he was already 60, then 70 years old. He used to record all the sets, and he was then kind of analyzing. And after listening to the sets, we were talking to his father about, Fabio, Grooverider, Sven Bath, whoever. He used to listen to all of them and make his own, critics about how this works or not in the dance floor. And I can tell you, he was a very much experienced voice. So our role here as a festival began in '94. The festival is now getting to the 21st edition. I think we've been trying to be the platform in general for electronic music, of course, in Spain. And of course, we're trying to be also the ambassadors in the platform for the Spanish artists and for the Spanish DJs. So the festival is now 20 years. It brings together not only music, but visual arts. There's a new name, I think we like to name it, which is creativity and technology. It's not only about making music. There's always been a crossover between visual arts and sound in our festival, and I think we are. Of course, there's another point that it's interesting to tell here. I think we convert the city of Barcelona as the world capital of electronic music 3 days a year. What is interesting to discuss is whether the city then it keeps being the capital, or whether the country, Spain, keeps being the capital for the rest of the year, which I think probably not. Probably we are still missing more activity. We are still missing the activity that has Berlin, for example. And that's why probably, Uner and Paco then can tell us about this. But
okay. Can you, one of the things that always strikes me with Sonar is that it kind of constantly surprises. It's still very experimental. It's still very avant-garde. What's the key philosophy you have for when you book the artists for Sonar?
I think we choose to have the confidence of the audience being to the festival to discover new music. Actually, when we did some kind of test, we know that most of the people, they are really expecting this from Sonar. They really come to see and discover new things. So this year we're going to focus on Nordic countries. We are bringing new talent. We are bringing, of course, the big names, Rex and Robin, Lake Lee, Nana Cherry, but also the most underground. Our special relation with Japan, with other countries that the festival is happening.
Yeah,
it always
you have several editions now of the festival.
For the last 10 years, we've been doing the festival many places all over the world, starting in London in 2002, and now we did 7 festivals, 7 years already in Tokyo. We did South America, and we are doing now very well in Reykjavik and Stockholm, and hopefully we'll be announcing a new city in the Nordic countries in 3 weeks. So I think it's a mix of people coming to discover sometimes very radical ideas of artists using technology, sound, and creativity. And sometimes, of course, we have to please and we have to be aware of what's going on every year. So, of course, now it's time to present the new show, opening for the new show with Massive Attack for this year. It's trying always to bring some of the influences. Of course, we have Chic with Nile Rodgers in front of it for the Saturday night. But it's always a mix, and as I was saying, I think this is what people is expecting from us, to come and mainly discover a lot of new talent.
Thanks. I want to bring Paco in because you kind of have a bit of everything in terms of you obviously DJ and have your name as a DJ, but you have a label, a club night in Barcelona, an agency. What was it like for you when you were first starting to become a DJ with the background and the context of the history we just heard?
Can you repeat it?
What was it like as a DJ and an artist with the background and the history we've heard about?
It's very impressed that 3 generations or 5 generations of a big family, they are doing the same business, and they still having success, And for me as a DJ, I always was dreaming play for them, for any of his clubs, or Florida, or Festival Monegros, the same as Sonar. I remember the first time I played a Sonar, it was like an orgasm, you know, because it was my city, and it's something that for a local DJ is like a dream, you know, playing the biggest platforms, and especially with the reputation of Sonar or Monegros, no? For me, especially, I've been fighting very hard for the scene in my city, because I'm running, as you say, a night every Thursday since now almost 9 years.
This is Club 4.
Yes, Club 4. And it is hard because, but it's also a pleasure. It is hard because playing every Thursday, or at least once a month, and running all the promo people to work with you, sound guy, everything is not easy. And I can guarantee here that I don't make no money, but it makes me pleasure to offer something that I like to my city. And my dream is leave a legacy to my city about what Paco Suna likes and what Paco Suna can offer to the city. So for me, it's very, very special.
I mean, through Club 4 as part of B4, the kind of connected B. Explain what B4 Bookings is and who you represent, because you have a really strong roster.
Yeah, well, everything became very natural, and I never thought that I could have an agency or a club or whatever. Everything came because I was needing. And somehow I was feeling not really supported by my agencies. And I thought that, okay, it's time to me to have an agency and try to invite also to the people who I really love and who I really trust and believe in the music scene to my country. So in this business, especially right now, many people is just because the economy, many people is just searching about names. Most of the promoters, they can say, it's much more easy to book a big DJ where you can sell tickets. It's no risk than book a underground DJ that probably not so many people knows. But that is my point for my club and for the agency, you know. Of course, in the agency we have also big names that are following us just because they like the way we're working. But talking in the club, for me, it satisfies me more to have half of the club, but half of the crowd that understand and appreciate the DJ that I invite to my night, than not have the full club and people just being there just for whatever, you know?
I mean, as an artist as well, you've been DJing for a long time and producing music, but things at the moment seem to be as good as they've ever been. You're a permanent resident for Enter again this year, is that right?
Yeah, this is my third year having the residence of Enter, and I'm extremely happy because Enter is not just, at least for me, it's not just a party. It's for like my family. Working together with people like Rich Houghton, Ben Turner, Eva Planas, it's very easy because they help me a lot. They trust in me. They believe in me. So it's a very honor and a pleasure to work with them for the third season and being exclusive for that.
Okay. Just before we bring Uner in, I wanted to ask Enric. I mean, this isn't about Barcelona, this panel, but obviously there's a very strong presence from Barcelona, and you talked about the city transforming into the capital of electronic music for 3 or 4 days. And obviously, Sonar's fundamental in that, but there are also tons and tons of parties that happen outside of that. How does the relationship work? Because obviously that all came from Sonar existing in the first place, and now hundreds of thousands of people come to Barcelona and don't go to Sonar but go to Off Sonar parties.
I think it's a natural phenomena that has been happening as every festival that when it gets successful, it's also happened with cinema festivals or with theater festivals in Avignon, for example. It's natural. I think as Paco was saying, people really likes to play. I would like to say that artists really like to perform in our festivals. So once they have being at our festival performing. We don't like much to repeat artists one year after the other, unless some exceptions. And of course, you know, they want to play. They want to be in Barcelona during the festival, so they try to find their own gigs. Then more people is coming from the industry. So it's just a good thing that this is all happening together. I mean, we are all these people. At the end of the day, they go through the festival in a way. And the artist that has been playing the festival the year before, then it maybe plays on this little party out of sight. I mean, it's not there's a big difference. Most of these parties are, let's say, a small club DJ oriented. The festival we present the big visual stage shows. So there was always a difference between for people to enjoy. Some of them they enjoy most of them they enjoy both. And at the end of the day, I think everybody wins because we are doing something that it's getting, as you were saying, you know, the Barcelona really becomes this big capital of everyone in this business around being in the city for the week.
Uner, you've been DJing for a long time, but you kind of, especially, you know, in Ibiza, you now have billboards. You've played a lot of gigs in Ibiza in the last couple of years. You kind of represent the new face, I guess, of the Spanish underground scene. Do you feel, or do you think of the history that we're talking about here when you take that challenge of being a representative of the new kind of Spanish underground?
Yeah, it's really funny for me because I work with all of them. My first gig ever, I played my first gig ever in Florida with them on the 95, I think it was in 95. I was playing live sets. At this time, nobody knows what the live set was like, what he's doing. No. So it's really funny because I know his history and I have a really huge respect for them. And they are really special for the underground scene. It's like Sonar or the Arnau family, because they respect the music and they respect the artists, and it's easier for us to grow on this kind of behavior, on this mood, because it's all about the music, it's all about the real music, and doesn't care about what the other artists are doing. So it's like all about the music and all about the good business and the good things. So what's really nice for me, because what's easy for me when I came to Ibiza the first time, and Ibiza is not easier because you have a lot of DJs trying to make his own spot.
How have you done that then? Because as you said, there are a lot of DJs, but you've really been able to take a position where you have a lot of offers and you're playing a lot of gigs. How have you been able to achieve that?
I had a lot of options to came to Ibiza some years ago to play for free or small parties, and it's not my style. It's like I think I had to wait my moment. And 5 years ago, Carl Cox called me and say, "Okay, I want to bring you to space to play on my party." And was my first time in Ibiza with Carl Cox 5 years ago, playing at the Sunset, opening the Sunset Terrace before Carl Cox. So it was my first step in Ibiza. So I think it was a good step. I'm playing with Carl Cox also every year. So it's...
And this year, what are your plans for this year?
For this year? I'm playing in Ants, the only underground party in Ushuaia. It's a really challenge for me because, Ushuaia is doing more commercial stuff, and they have just one underground party on Saturday. And it's really nice for me to put the underground music on a huge stage with a lot of different shows, like Elrow was doing every weekend with not just a DJ or music. It's music and a DJ and party and some shows for the people. The thing is, the people came to the parties and Ibiza and the clubs to feel different experiences and to be happy. That's it. Our work is put the music and the promoter is to try to book the correct DJ and put some different shows. And the music, then the music and the shows are really important at the same place. So, so it's really nice for me to play in Ushuaia because it's full of these kind of shows, and also playing with Carl Cox and Danny Tanaga, the opening Carl Cox Revolution, and some of the gigs in Vista Club and Blue Marlin and everything.
Okay, I want to bring Juanito back in to speak, kind of round off the story, if you like. You know, I've been in row 14 with you, and it's hard to describe what it's like. I guess fun is the main word I'd use, because it's just, yeah, crazy. Closing that place and going to the new club Care, it's kind of a complete polar opposite. I mean, why did you decide to open a club in that style, and can you explain what Care is? And
as I said, we always like challenge, and we try to do new things and new stuff year after year. So after a row closed down, we were, because like political issues, we had to move forward and think about new things, new ideas, new projects. So that's why my father was looking for a new place in city to open up a club. And we opened a new club called Care, which was opened last October for 1,500 people.
Because row 14 was much bigger. It was
row 14 is
4,
about 4,500 people. Yeah, and since then, like, we had to close it down with 4,000 people every Sunday, and we moved to a new club. And rather than, for us, it would have been really easy to open up the club as a row brand. But, you know, we like challenge. I learned it from my grandfather and my father. So we wanted to create a new brand, new product, new artist, more underground scene. And then we brought a row city every Sunday there, which is like different concept, different clubbing, different idea.
To keep in tune with the concept of the panel, the Spanish Underground, had Row become too popular in Barcelona? Was it not underground enough anymore? Is that why you decided to have a different concept?
Row started with 300 people. Actually, it was me, Paco was the first guy that played there. 200 friends hanging around in Barcelona, giving up wristbands for free to the people, and telling everyone that was cool in Barcelona to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, take a shower, have breakfast, and go to a place. People at the beginning thought we were crazy. You know, it was like, I remember, like, we were losing money for 4 months, 5 months. And my father, I remember a call of my father, I was in August, and he's like, Dad, you are not gonna believe it. Like, we are creating something special in Barcelona. And my father asked me, like, how many tickets we sold? And I said 500. He's like, this is not good, Juan. He's like, yeah, but it will come, you know, like. And at the end, like, after 6 months, 7 months, we were selling already 4,000 tickets. It's something special, you know, like, I don't know, it became like, maybe by chance, I don't know. It was like, we started 300 people throwing toys, playing, you know, like playing with performers, I don't know, going crazy. And that's how we built the brand.
And with Care, I mean, is it a bit more serious, I guess?
Care?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably it's more like a kind of underground. We try to keep it like that way because, as I said, we like to have different products. You know, like we have Monegros, which is like crazy. Then we have Elrow, which is more focused music and shows. Then we have Florida 135, which is like a techno club. Then, you know, and then Care, which is more underground. So we like to try and touch different branches of electronic music.
And you've moved to Space this year. You're teaming up with Kuma. I mean, you came to Ibiza 2 years ago, and it's not easy to come to Ibiza and make a success straight away, but you did really. And can you explain about how you made that happen and the move to Space and what your hopes are for this year?
Actually, it was like when we were like really big in Spain, in Barcelona. My father like had a chance to have a meeting here with Jose Mari at Privilege, and rather than going to the main room, we wanted to create a new room there, and he was there busy building up everything with Jose Mari for a few months. Then we created Vista Club, and it was like, first year was 1,500 people every Saturday. Was kind of hard. Now, like the second year was even better. And now we have, right now we have our biggest project this year, which is like Space Ibiza. We are taking over every Saturday with Kekahuma, with Juan Arenas. And right now we are really focused in doing something special in the island. We want to mix. It's not like, of course, it's like international artists and really good residents, but it's also focused on decoration, performers, shows. So we are going to try to mix a little bit of everything what we have done for the last 4 or 5 years and putting up together, mixing up, and let's see what happens.
Okay. We're kind of out of time, but I think we should carry on until they kick us off. So if anyone's got a question, put your hand up. Yeah, can we get a mic? In the middle over there. If you can just say who you are and where you're from.
Hello, I'm Hayley from Yoko. This is for Enric from Sonar. I know that you're doing a Sonar in Cape Town this year in South Africa in December. I wanted to find out from you what you're doing to ensure that you're keeping like the authenticity of Sonar when you're going into different countries. You know, how are you keeping it so that when you're doing a Sonar in another country that people are going, wow, this is what Sonar is, and not, well, was that it? You know, is it just another party in a different part of the world that you're trying to push your brand to? You know, what are you doing to keep the elements of Sonar in these parties that you're doing across the world?
Well, it's exactly like that. I mean, it's not a franchise. I think it's not just doing the same everywhere. It's very different what we do in Helsinki what we do in Tokyo and what we are going to do in Cape Town. First of all, we like to go to places that have something special, and of course, they have something special musically. And South Africa has, a heritage and a very interesting music from today. I mean, the proof of this is we are bringing Spoke Matambo, Saibot, I think 3 or 4 acts from South Africa to Sonar Barcelona this year. So everywhere, first of all, we like to invite the local scene to be part of our event. And of course, we work with the local partner to make the best lineup possible, focus on what people is expecting locally. You know, we have to deal with the fact that some of the artists we bring to Barcelona, maybe they played already in the country. So it's always a kind of a process of doing something specifically for every city.
We're out of time, unfortunately, so we're going to have to leave it there. But thank you to the panel, and yeah, thanks for sharing with us.